Austin at the Patriot Academy. He was the youngest of all of the students there, and the Patriot Academy is kind of reorganizing. Used to, you were supposed to be 16 to 21 to attend the Patriot Academy. Now then, they're changing the rules. They really want you to be 17 through 24 to attend the Patriot Academy. So Austin may be the youngest one there for another year or two, but I'll tell you one thing, he sure made an impact, and everyone knows and respects him. In 38 years in education, I've known a lot of good students, but the day I met Austin 2 years ago at a speech contest in Tyler, Texas, I said, here is a young man that is destined for greatness. He speaks with the knowledge and the authority 3 or 4 years above his age. And of all of the valedictorian and salutatorian addresses that I listened to in 38 years, I can assure you they could have all taken lessons from this young man. And when you hear him speak in a few moments, I think you may have a new yardstick to begin measuring your constitutional essays by. But it's my real privilege to welcome Austin Lux here to speak to us tonight. Austin.
Well, hey everyone. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good.
Good? All right. Now, you guys know what's wrong with the federal government? A lot of things. Mostly the federal government is what's wrong with the federal government. But one of the main problems, I think, is that not many in the federal government have any golf balls. Please let me explain. For the past couple of years, I've been able to attend a program called the Patriot Academy. At the Patriot Academy, they not only teach you how to be better statesmen, but they also bring in fantastic speakers from all over, such as our very own Governor Rick Perry and founder of Wall Builders, David Barton, to teach you how to maintain your character. At the Patriot Academy, one of the first things they do after you check in is hand you a golf ball. They tell you that this golf ball represents your character and never to lose it. It's a brilliant exercise that reminds each and every one of us every day to have our character with us all the time. You see, the Patriot Academy recognizes that many people, once they get to Washington or to Austin, forget to bring their character with them. They've lost their balls, their golf balls. I am calling on all of us here today to always have our golf balls, to always fight for what is right, and to always be men and women of character. A great man of character, President Ronald Reagan, once said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction." We didn't pass it on to our children through the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they, in their lifetimes, must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free. We must preserve what is most precious to us. And that, my friends, is our freedom. Freedom, as defined by the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, is a state of exemption from the power or control of another. Every generation has to fight for, protect, and defend the freedom we have been given. Speaking of fighting for our freedom, do we have any vets in the audience? Please stand up so that we can recognize you. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you. It is because of these warriors of freedom that we have the privilege and the duty to stand guard at the Watchtower of Liberty. As a nation, we have survived external attacks and internal attacks, but never before at the same time. However, right now, we are defending America from external enemies who are determined to destroy us and our way of life. And we are in a battle on our own home front. We must fight for our freedoms. But how can we do this? How do we know what's right? Is there a standard that we can use or that we can go by? You bet there is. Our very own U.S. Constitution is the greatest foundation of freedom and security written by man, the second greatest document, only after the Bible. Our founding fathers used their knowledge and understanding of the history of the governments before them to create the most powerful document of freedom and liberty the world has ever seen. Our Constitution helped unlock our spirit and our ingenuity. This is what allowed us freedom. The freedom to either prosper or to fail, depending on our own actions. The Constitution is the reason that mankind as a whole was able to accomplish more in the past 200 years than we had accomplished in the 5,000 years before that. It has even been said to have caused a 5,000-year leap. How else could we have gone from horse-drawn carriages to putting a man on the moon in less than 200 years, when mankind had never before made such dramatic advances? Think about that for a second. A man on the moon. That boggles my mind. How many of you today have a job that probably didn't exist 200 years ago? We got a few up here? Yeah. Would that job be possible if we didn't have freedom in America? Probably not. The answer lies in one word: freedom. You see, when man is free, we are free to imagine, invent, and create. In doing so, our founding fathers were willing to sacrifice their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors for our freedom. Our founding fathers created something extraordinary: a republic where the people are more powerful than their governments. Let me say that again. Where the people are more powerful than their governments. Even if today that is sometimes forgotten. For ours is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Our founding fathers were influenced by many writers, philosophers, and pastors. Cleon Skousen, founder of the National Center for Constitutional Studies and former FBI agent, researched hundreds of the founders' writings, and then distilled these writings into several common themes, or principles of liberty, which he then published in his book, The 5,000-Year Leap. Principle number 2 states that a free people cannot survive under our Constitution unless they remain virtuous and morally strong. It was commonly known that self-government cannot run under a corrupt society. As a matter of fact, Benjamin Franklin said that only a virtuous people are capable of our freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. George Washington also said that we can only survive as long as there shall remain any virtue in the body of the people. Our founding fathers understood that the more immoral man becomes, the more government is needed in society. The more government that is established, the less liberty we have. Once people realize they have less liberty, the more they realize they want less government. At the heart of this vicious cycle is immorality. If we can just keep our country's morals strong, there would be no need for more intrusive government. Unfortunately, we find ourselves today in a moral crisis. It all started back in 1962, when prayer was banned in our public schools. In 1963, the Bible was removed from schools as well. Finally, in 1980, the 10 Commandments were removed as well. Slowly, we have seen the decline this effect has had on our children. What else could we expect once we remove the moral foundation from our children's education? That teen pregnancies, school shootings, and bullying have all been on the rise since this time, just to name a few. Winston Churchill said, "There are no coincidences in this lifetime." What effect do we think that the redefinition of marriage will have on our society? Hopefully, we will never find out. Remember, only a virtuous people are capable of our freedom. As the morality of the people breaks down, society falls. So all you men and women of character, I need your help to fight. To fight for our values and fight for our principles. Because the liberty we are losing today is not ours. The liberty we are losing today is not ours. It belongs to the future. It belongs to the millions yet unborn. Our founders over and over pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors to defend the liberty of those not yet born. But how are we treating those not yet born today? We don't even respect their most basic right. Their right to life. Alexis de Tocqueville said that America is great because she is good. If America ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great. We must defend the miracle we were given. But what can we do? Remember, we have the best two standards around. We have our Bible, and we have our Constitution. They both can be applied to every situation, to any piece of legislation you should support or should not support. Take, for example, the HHS mandate of Obamacare, which threatens our religious liberties and blatantly goes against our Constitution. Although our Supreme Court seems not to think so. We must not suffer tamely another lawless attack upon our liberty. We need to make our voices heard to everyone who will listen. Our congressmen, our neighbors, our co-workers, anybody you come in contact with. We can do things like sign the Manhattan Declaration, which affirms the sanctity of every human life, that marriage is an institution between one man and one woman, and the inherent right of religious freedom for all, at manhattandeclaration.org. Again, manhattandeclaration.org. We need to get out and vote in every election we can. And if you can, bring a friend or two to the polls with you. We need to vote for men and women of character. Those who haven't lost their golf balls. People like Senator Ted Cruz, Congressman Louis Gohmert. And even on the local level, we have Brian Hughes, Matt Schaefer, Wayne Christian, David Simpson, Stuart Spitzer, and Bob Hall. On this day in history, in 1920, as you may remember, there was a constitutional amendment passed to allow women to vote. It is a freedom that we take for granted every time we go to the ballot box. We need to exercise that freedom as often as we can. Not only do we need to continue to vote at the polls, but we also need to start voting with our pocketbooks. Don't support companies that don't support your values and your principles. For example, if you don't support